Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
PD Beats here from Popternative, speaking to Neels Visser about Night, which is going to be available November 16th. Welcome to the show, man. Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. Excited to chat.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. It's a pretty exciting time. I mean, a lot of people know you for your modeling. This is your first film. Like you said before we started, you've never done anything like this before. I mean, simple question. What was it like acting and diving into the world of Night, man?
Honestly, I was really nervous going into it just because I'd never done anything like it.
Yeah.
I've been on big sets before and stuff like that, but the pressure of your voice being recorded and every little thing about you was totally different. So overall, it was really exciting once I got past the nerves, and everyone on set was just super welcoming and made me feel super accepted. So overall, it was such a great experience.
Oh, absolutely. We're going to get into the film a bit more, but, I do have to ask because it's interesting. We've interviewed people on the show that have modeled and have that experience and everything. They do the crossover to acting because that seems to happen a lot. Like people model and then they act, or they act and they model. What's something about modeling that you can share with us, maybe misconception-wise, or something we might not know about kind of the day-to-days of being a model? Because that interests me a little bit, Neels.
Yeah, good question. Honestly, people probably don't know is how political it is. I feel like people think it's just either you have a look or you're pretty or you're this or you're that, and then you just go and work with brands. But it's very political. There's people you got to get in with, and there's ways that you can grow your career. And if there's, certain environments you put yourself in, let's just say Fashion Week, for example, if you don't participate in Fashion Week, it's like not doing castings. You're not going to get booked on a movie. So there's a lot of little hidden things like that I think you wouldn't think about because people just think it's so matter of fact. It's either you're cool or you're pretty or whatever, and you just get booked for stuff. But there's a lot of back end work that you actually have to do. And, honestly, the dieting and all that stuff that people say, it's bullshit. Models eat like shit, worse than anyone that I've ever met in my life. So, I think it's kind of funny in that regard that people think it's this perfect, everyone's on diets and they're working out every day and blah, blah, blah. No, every model I know, they eat pizza and they're up till 4 a.m, they're smoking weed and they're, out late. So it's just kind of a misconception. It is what it is. But yeah, that's a little bit about mine.
Usually, I always ask about misconceptions about different, industries at the end of the interview. We didn't waste any time, and we just kind of...
No, this is what's up.
Night, directed by Niki Koss, stars Brenna D'Amico. It's got Tony Todd, Maddie Carter-Opel, like an amazing cast. You mentioned it was cool to work with everyone, but what was it like kind of signing on? People knew who you were from your modeling stuff, but there's some pretty cool names attached to this project. So what was that like when you found out who was involved with this?
Yeah, good question. I kind of looked at it like it was going to high school and walking up to the seniors table and trying to sit with the cool kids.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to be this big wall where you can't sit with the seniors because they're the cool kids. But it was the opposite. I actually met them before we got to set at this diner because it was a small town we shot in. And I actually didn't even recognize them at first, but I noticed a bunch of kids walking into this diner and I'm the only guy there. And all of them come up and they're like, "Hey, you're Neels. We're so excited to have you, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "You guys are all the lead actors." I'm like, "Wow, everyone's so cool." So honestly, I was a little scared, but the minute I met them, even before I got to set, everyone was just so chill. Dropped their guards. It was no bullshit. Everyone was just cool and easygoing and made me feel welcome. So it was.
But going back to the misconception thing about kind of what you kind of said. I mean, obviously it does happen. People are under pressure and everything, but this whole and I'm wondering if you could say the same thing about with your modeling, because you meet some really cool people at fashion weeks and everything.
Right.
You meet actors and musicians and everything. I do a lot of these interviews. I've interviewed some pretty amazing people, and it's this, I don't know, this whole diva thing. I mean, I feel it's all just when I interview these people that are on amazing shows, it's just two friends chatting. It doesn't feel really seem like anything else, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I will admit I've met some people that are less easy to talk to, you could say, or not as spirited when you talk to them. But honestly, the coolest people are the ones that just don't care. They're just an average guy, no matter what their status is. They're just oh yeah, I'll chop it up about whatever topic.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
yeah, I agree with you. Most people are just honestly cool.
No, it's amazing. I mean, psychological thriller, a little bit of horror in there. Like this is a movie that kind of bends a lot of genres. There's a lot kind of happening in this film. Was there a specific like were you hoping that like thriller and horror was something that was going to be like an early project for you when you started to decide to go to acting, because it's a really cool genre right now?
Yeah, honestly, I've always been really into thriller movies. Like a lot of my favorite movies are thrillers. So, I always just thought that doing something that's like cool versus just playing a role that I feel like is more catered to who people may believe that I am. Like a lot of people think I should be like, the bad guy in high school or whatever, like the jock or something like that, just because of what they think. But playing something that was a little bit more of like a curveball was like exciting for me, because I'm like, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm excited about, is doing things where I'm actually stepping out of my element and I don't feel like I'm just, playing something too close to home. It's more fun.
Oh,
So
absolutely. No, for sure. Now, acting, music, writing, direct, that's all storytelling, dancing as well. Modeling is also storytelling. I'm sorry. I got to say that. It is. It could be seen as like one of the forms of storytelling. What excites you about storytelling, Niels?
good question. I think the exciting part is honestly capturing the story with someone else, right? Like for example, like when you say modeling or storytelling as well, like in that world, it's like you letting go and like trusting the photographer and like the other people on set and like really getting into a vibe, whether it's like listening to the music or smoking a joint or like having a drink or whatever it is,
Yeah.
but like letting go and just vibing with someone. That's when the storytelling happens, right? But like when you look at the mood boards and the all the other things where you believe it's got to be a certain way, that's when you kind of get like lost in trying to be something. But when you just like let go and like have fun with it, that part of storytelling is fun. And oftentimes I don't even see photos or my work until it's published or it's out in a campaign or whatever. But that's kind of the fun part, is like you just have fun in the moment, and then when you see it later, it's like, oh damn, like that was so cool and it turned out like that. Hell yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an interesting time too when you're making films, where you make films, you make TV shows, and you kind of play in the waiting game, because you like work on something, you shoot it, you wrap, and then it's like you're not sure when it's
Yeah.
gonna come out and everything. Is that the same in the modeling world too? Sometimes with like shoots and
Oh
everything.
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
There's times even when I have like active photographer, like, yo, can I see that? And they're like, and I'm like, I just want to see what I look, because like maybe I'll do something different, like I don't know what I look like. But there's so
Is that
many
what he
times that,
does
like,
too? Just like not even a word, just like no.
No, 100%. And like they've shown me photos too and been like, isn't this one great? And then I'll like see on a billboard later, it's like one I didn't see, and I feel like I look crazy, and like somehow they thought that was the good photo or whatever, and I'm just like, what? So yeah, honestly, it's a surprise so much.
I know. Well, without going into spoilers, they're gonna be able to see the 16th. It's night. What can people expect from your character? Like, what kind of character did you play, and what can they expect? Like, when they get to see the film, what are you hoping they get out of it? So, talk about your character a bit, and then what are you hoping they get out of it, takeaway wise, when they watch this psychological thriller, Night?
Yeah, I think my response for both kind of share a similar theme, that like it's a curveball, right? Like my character, as I mentioned, like for myself, it wasn't just straightforward, you know, role that I feel like a lot of people imagine me playing. It was a bit more raunchy, a little bit more edgy. I had more fun. I'm playing a badass, if you will. So it was a fun role to step into, because I felt like I got to play someone that I know versus playing like just my raw self. So that was fun to like put myself in someone else's shoes, if you will. And I just like kind of being something that was a little bit more badass, like a jock or something. So that was cool. And I think the takeaway from the movie, like similarly, is that like it's almost like a mystery, in the sense where like you go through the movie and you kind of like have this feeling like, oh, that's gonna happen for sure, because that just happened, and like these two characters are gonna have this happen or whatever. But then it gives you a curveball, and it's like, oh no, you were wrong. So it's not like a comedy where it's just like makes you laugh or something, but there's like moments within the movie, and especially as you get to the end, where you're just like, oh. And I think that element of like surprise and mystery that makes it a thriller, and kind of keeps you like questioning and guessing. That's the cool part to me.
Oh, absolutely. What's your mindset lately, where, it's coming out, it's come before the storm, you shot it, finally has a release date, it's out, you're doing some press for it. Is the mindset now like you're getting excited, like when you're talking and doing these interviews like this, like are you just motivated to like work on another movie? Like, is it making you excited to kind of go work on another movie? Is that the mindset right now?
100%. You know, obviously with COVID, like there was a lot of delays with a lot of the work that I've done, but this specifically, there was like a whole period where I was like, you know, there wasn't much talk. And then as of, I don't know, I want to say like 4 or 5 months ago, they're like, hey, like we're locking in dates, we're doing press, we're doing this. And then as, you know, you rewind to like a week ago, everything getting locked in and you know, there's a, what's it called? There's like carpet premiere for like, all the people who were in the movie, and it now actually being released in the next few weeks on platform and across platforms. It's really exciting, honestly. Like I haven't felt that kind of thrill and anticipation, because usually something I do is like seen by people and it's a photo, right? But having something where it's you know, you look at it and you're like, oh, cool, next. But this is something where like there's so much anticipation, and I think it makes me feel inspired to do something again where, you know, hopefully someday I have a larger role and it's not so short, as much as I'm very appreciative for it. I think it would be really cool to step into that larger role next time around where, you know, I play a big part and, you know, I really put myself out there. So absolutely. In short, I'm ecstatic to continue this career and continue moving forward with, you know, with acting.
Absolutely. Neels Visser, like we said, is a storyteller. You're a storyteller that's in the public eye a lot because of a lot of your work. And with that comes social media and a big social media following, specifically on Instagram, where millions all around the world can kind of see what you're up to and everything. It's exciting to think about. At the same time, it's probably a little nerve-wracking to have that many people kind of see your things. I'm wondering, in terms of mindsets with your social media, because you have so many people that can see your posts, the responsibility component is a huge thing. Is it safe to say that's the thing that comes to mind the most in terms of like what you post and everything? Because you do have a lot of people watching your stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a thing across like a lot of my friends and myself where at first, like when the whole internet, like social media phase like happened like 5 years ago or so, and everyone started gaining a bunch of followers, like it was such just like a hype moment, right? Yep. But now that it's like locked into being such a cemented part of our daily lives, to like the point where it's the first thing people do when they wake up and the last thing they do before they go to bed is like scroll through social media, it honestly creates this like anxiety, because to your point, like there's millions of people looking at every move I make, and I feel like the perception that other people have when they like maybe go and have a quick scroll across my page, they're like, oh, I think of him as this guy. Meanwhile, the guy that I feel like is completely different. And there's so many times where like I've met people in person that have like just seen me online or something, and they're like, wow, you're so different. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, because like I try to be true to myself online, but you only get like that perfect shot. You only get a morsel of who someone is. So the responsibility and honestly the pressure that comes along with it, just like feeling like you need to kind of be someone or fill a role.
Yeah.
It's a lot, dude.
Niels, I want to thank you so much for coming on Popternative to chat about Night Night. This was great chatting with you, man.
Yeah, dude, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate your time.
So November 16th, it's going to be available. That's Night Night, directed by Niki Koss, starring, of course, Neels Visser, Brenna D'Amico, Maddie Caropol, Tony Todd. There's such a good cast and everything. And like we said, we talked about it. Where can people follow you on social media? I think if they just say Niels, they'll find you, right?
Yep, should pop up.
Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Until next time, this is Neels Visser and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.